Exhume bodies of Obinim dead girls. Ken demands. NLA makes strides. On the back page of that, there's some sports where Kotoko sever ties with 3 of its players. My guest this morning is the Honorable Alasan Suhini, is the Member of Parliament for the Tamale North constituency, and also joining me from the camp of the NPP is lawyer Andrew Ejapa Mesa, popularly known as Bobo. He's the MP for the 2nd D constituency in the Western region. Gentlemen, welcome. Good morning.
Pleasure to be here. Morning.
Eid Mubarak to you, Alasan. How's the fast going?
To you. Alhamdulillah, started very well, and we hope that Almighty Allah will accept our supplications and guide us through the 29 or 30 days of fast. And let me take this opportunity to wish every Muslim watching us Eid Mubarak. And we pray that in this very uncomfortable times that we have to do this, Allah's mercy will abound.
We will join you for the celebrations.
I guess it's only appropriate. I believe one of the very few instances that I tend to share sentiments with my very good friend.
Because
so you share this one,
yes,
but others you are not sure.
I associate myself
such
wholly.
a nice friend.
Wait.
I find it unfortunate that this is what
As soon as you
consider
appear,
this one of the very few times.
It's good to chip in one of these things every now and then, so at least we can have a good laugh.
Right.
I mean, it's important. I associate myself fully with the sentiments that have been expressed by my good friend, and I wish all my Muslim brothers, friends, Eid Mubarak. Yeah.
we will join them for the celebration, as I said, but they will do the fasting on our behalf. It's important that they do. Page 3 of the Daily Guide says the announcement by President Akufo-Addo to commence massive hospital infrastructure projects throughout the country is dazing the opposition, the NDC. NDC elements and their surrogates have started rubbishing the agenda, synonymous with what they did to the free SHS program when it was being implemented. But the president's agenda will see the overhaul of Ghana's health infrastructure. It's an ambitious plan, according to the Daily Guide, and it says on Sunday evening, the president, as part of his 8th address to the nation on his government's effort to combat the COVID pandemic, laid out an ambitious plan to tackle the health infrastructural deficit of the country because, according to him, the COVID-19 has exposed the lapses in the health system of the country and must be addressed without delay. He said there are 88 districts in our country without district hospitals. We have 6 new regions without regional hospitals. We do not have 5 infectious disease control centers dotted across the country, and we do not have enough testing and isolation centers for diseases like COVID-19. We must do something urgently about it, and that was the President of the Republic. Later, I'll show you a video from 2017, what the President had said, and some portions of the State of the Nation address as well. But, Suhini, let me begin this conversation with you. Why are you doubtful that this is even possible when, with all seriousness, the President spoke on Sunday evening and says this is where we need to go because he has acknowledged the problem, and solving the problem is part of acknowledging the problem is part of solving it. And he says, this is what I want to do. Why are you doubtful?
Well, Johnny, let me once again say good morning to our viewers, especially the very good people of the Tamale North constituency. I want to also thank and encourage well-meaning Ghanaians who are making huge sacrifices and also, in complying with some of the protocols that are required for us all to, win this battle against COVID. We also need to salute our health professionals who, I am told, in some cases have had to purchase their own PPEs just to attend to patients. And
the
we are
information
also
minister
told,
says that PPEs have been produced for them, the 3.6, part of which has been given to, the first part has been given to health officials. So you can't be saying that.
the unfortunate thing about our conversation these days in this country is that what government says seems to be gospel. And so any other thing that is said by anyone is considered less, important.
Really?
But I've heard doctors in the Ashanti region yesterday, they held a press conference. They spoke to the media. I don't know if it was through a press conference, but it's in the newspapers today, talking about how about 13 of them have so far been infected by the virus, and complaining about the distribution of the PPEs and requesting to be part of the distribution process. So I'm not making this up. I'm not saying the minister or government have not said they have sent the PPEs, but I'm just commending people in general for the sacrifices that everyone is making for us to win this battle. And I decided to single out these health professionals also for praise. They are not the only people who are making sacrifices, but yes, they are in the front line, and we need to salute them. Johnny, why am I on this tangent?
Tell me.
I am on this tangent because so many Ghanaians are having to endure uncomfortable situations, making sacrifices so that as a country we can win this. The less we expect from our authorities and by extension our president and his ministers is for them to be very honest with us.
They are not being honest.
For them to be forthright.
They are not being forthright.
For them to, conduct themselves in a way that will assure us that they have their hand right on the handle.
There have been 8
And
public
together-
addresses by the president.
And
There have been
together,
Minister of
we
Information
can
briefings.
support whatever is announced and put in place for us to come out of this. It is very
There
important.
have been 8 addresses by the President of the Republic giving clear direction, lockdown, imposition of restrictions, closure of our borders. The Information Ministry has been doing briefings with Noguchi, Ghana Health Service, everybody else, police, military have been there. So what's your difficulty? Is that not sincere? That's not forthright enough?
Those are just acts. And I didn't say they should do something. They are doing something. But I'm just saying they should be sincere. So I'm not challenging what you have said. They are doing something, but I'm saying they should be sincere and honest and forthright
How do you
and
mean?
give us the assurance.
How do you
Exactly.
mean?
So if you allow me to proceed, I'll get there. So they should give us that sense of assurance that they are also working to meet the sacrifices that we are all making. I, on other platforms, have questioned why our president, for example, is not conducting himself like other presidents are doing in established democracies, where he gets off the prepared speeches and texts and meets the press, so that some of the measures that he announces can be subjected to scrutiny, which will give us all the assurance that he's really on top of the issues and knows where he's taking us. This is important, Johnny, because we found out after about the 6th or so address that the number of tests that we have been bandying around is not the same as the number of people tested.
You're talking 68,000.
Exactly. And unfortunately, in the president's last address, he still went on to talk about how well we are doing with testing without disintegrating the numbers for us to know how many people have really been tested as against how many tests have been carried out. I am also of the view that if the president stop hiding behind these prepared speeches and do like other presidents are doing in other countries, and not to cede the job to, a minister of state, we will be more assured of his competence at handling some of these things. For example, when the president talked about the movement of the disease, the bringing back of the economy, but not able to bring back life, and then surprise so many people with the lifting of the lockdown, only to come back and tell us again that we are still monitoring the disease, and we still do not know so much about how it is moving.
It was backed by science and data.
Exactly.
That's what the president
What
said.
science? What data? So it is an interaction with the media that will bring about some clarity. Frontline workers' benefits. You remember the controversy about who a frontline worker was. With interaction with the media as president, perhaps we would have avoided those controversies.
Wrap up
Now, in wrapping up, the president announced 2 days ago that he was going to construct 88 hospitals. And that's why I talk about honesty.
Year.
In less than a year.
In a year.
In less than a year.
He said in a year.
Well, but he has less than a year as
He
president.
says 2021 that those projects will be done.
I'm saying he has less than a year.
But for the records, it says 1 year.
Well, but the point, I mean, whatever. But the point I am also making is that I'm not saying he didn't say a year, but I'm saying he has less than a year. So you expect that he will do that in less than a year. But he says in 2021. Johnny, the president, when he spoke to us, especially when he was lifting the lockdown, what did he say about how they understand the movement of the virus in this country? How many people were hospitalized? Very few, according to him. We didn't have people in critical condition until recently. The last address, he said about 6 people are critical condition. And because of the resistance level, and that so many of those infected are not showing signs and are actually receiving treatment from home. Not so. Now juxtapose that against a promise to construct 88 hospitals.
What's your doubt?
I'm not doubting. I'm saying if we don't have need, the president says the disease is such that in this country, people are not getting hospitalized. That's what he said. So how does construction of hospitals become a priority in this situation? But he makes it a priority. But guess what? On page 34 of his manifesto in 2016, he promised the people of Ghana, like many other promises, that he was going to ensure that every district gets a hospital once he becomes a president. Perhaps if he fulfilled that promise, he will not have to use the COVID platform as a campaign platform today. But like many other promises that he has forgotten about, it had to take COVID to jolt him into action. And you're not just talking about 88 hospitals. Well, if not so, where are those hospitals that he promised on page 34 of his manifesto? So it took COVID to jolt him into action. So if it is the case, he should wait. When we finish dealing with COVID and get on the platform, campaign platform, he can explain to us why he didn't fulfill that promise and now wants to do so in 2021. If you look at the budget statement of 2020, the only provision made for health infrastructure is 44 million, about 44 million Ghana cedis. I mean, 400, yes, about 44 million Ghana cedis.
Yes.
If you divide 44 by about 88, forget about the 6 regional hospitals. You are talking about 500,000. That can build, 100
Is that as simple as you want to look at it?
Well, I'm saying unless, of course, the president is going to tell us, and you see, if again he had an interaction with the media, we would have known by now the design, the cost, and where the fund is going to come from.
Thank
the funds are going to come from.
Thank you.
But you see, I would prefer...
Your time is up. Thank you.
I would prefer, just under 1 minute. I think that in the construction of 6 regional hospitals, for example, you recall that in July 2019, before COVID hit the world, President Mahama promised that every new region was going to get a hospital. That is a man who thinks ahead. In July, before COVID, he saw the need for every region to have a hospital. It had to take COVID again to jolt our current president to realize that 6 regions need hospitals.
Of course, it goes without saying that once you create a region, they must get a...
It doesn't go without saying. For many, many years, many regions lived without hospitals. It was President Mahama and the NDC again that made sure that the Upper East, Upper West, and others had regional hospitals.
Thank you very much. Bobo, step in for me at this point. So any suggesting that you have not been honest, the government has not been honest, it's not been forthright, and it keeps promising when the old promises have not been fulfilled. and that is not good enough in our forward fight against COVID. What do you say?
Let me first of all say good morning to our cherished viewers, and of course my good friend Alassane here and your good self. Surprising the kind of posture that our friends always want to take and name call, if you like, is what has become the order of the day. In any event, His Excellency the President has held live media encounters in this country. So it is not the case that only during COVID that if he doesn't hold live media encounters, then his competencies are not known to the good people of this country. It cannot be the case that Mr. Mahama never held media or addressed the nation pre-recorded. Okay, every president, as and when the exigencies require, adopts a mechanism that he deems suitable.
He's asking about the details contained in those recordings.
But of course, His Excellency the President, relative to the issues that he's put across, right from the very beginning, when he indicated that he had asked the finance minister to provide $100 million for the fight, he indicated,
which again was
details,
not correct.
Well, you
because the finance minister later
allow him.
You may twist it for your own purposes.
Is it twisting? The president said, I have directed the finance minister
to make
available
$100 million. I use real life examples, our own personal situations. You've given your wife 2,000 Ghana cedi upkeep for a month, correct? Buy electricity, buy water, go to the market. Your son accidentally gets injured. You haven't made any provision. Of course, she hasn't expended all the 2,000 that you gave her for the month. You are out of town, say, because I go to the constituency often. And I tell her, take the young man to the hospital. You say because I haven't given her money specific for the hospital, she cannot go to hospital with the funds that she has to make sure the boy is taken care of. And then when I come, I replace whatever it is that she needs to go to market and for the house, upkeep of the house for the rest of the month.
Your analogy is brilliant, except to
but
say that
that's exactly what happened. Hold on.
But
of course,
the father was present.
See, every expenditure of government is approved by Parliament. So when His Excellency the President gives directives, the expectation is that the finance minister will pick it up and do the needful. Before he came to Parliament, expenditures were being made. But those expenditures had not been approved. So he needed to come back to Parliament and seek approval to source financing to fill the gap.
May I ask quickly, as a
but
point of...
you see,
may I ask quickly,
do.
Hold on. As a point of interest, all the money that we're spending, do we have a plan to guide our spending? I'm just curious too. It just struck me. Do we have a plan, as in a COVID plan? Because this was not planned for. It was not intended. Now it's happening. We are sourcing for funds. We are getting donations to expend for the sake of our people and for the good of our nation. But do we have a plan structured to say this?
Absolutely. The finance minister came to Parliament with a plan. Okay. With respect to the COVID alleviation fund, the COVID alleviation program, the 100 million that His Excellency the President had programmed, what it is that we're going for the World Bank and IMF, which essentially, because our revenues are not coming, some gaps have been left in our budget, and so it was important for us to find alternative means to fund those programs. It was all outlaid before Parliament, and approvals were appropriately sought. Okay. Now, you see, yes, I recall that only a few months ago, the Vice President, in the spirit of transparency, in the spirit of candor, addressed the people of Ghana in Kumasi and told all of us where it is that we've gotten to with our campaign commitments. Absolutely. Okay. He indicated the commitments that we've met. He indicated that the commitments that were ongoing, and he indicated the commitments that we have not been able to commence. Right. Now, we are faced with a situation which clearly if you look at the rate with which it is affecting other countries, if we had that situation here, our health infrastructure as we know it, clearly, will be overwhelmed.
Are we not already overwhelmed?
Hold on, yes. Well, I don't know that we are overwhelmed.
Is that not why people are being kept at home?
Is that not why? Is that not what?
Is that not why people are being kept at home?
Oh, but people, if you exhibit mild to low symptoms and there's no need for you to be hospitalized, you wouldn't be hospitalized.
But I'm infected.
Across the world.
I live in a compound house. I live in a single room with my wife and
So
child.
let your circumstances be known. And if you ought to be hospitalized or put in an isolation center, by all means.
Okay.
But I'm saying that this has brought to the fore the need, even if government has not met its commitments in the area of health. Because, look, it's resource-based. And you cannot tell me, in fact, Imani has done a study assessing manifesto commitments of political parties. Your own party was assessed to have done less than 50% of your promises to Ghanaians, both in 2012 and
what was your score?
so we've done more than just about the same. If you like. No, it's fine. Even let's work with the Imani statistics. But what is the point that I'm making? The point that I'm making is that manifestos are aspirational. That is your vision for the country.
And that is what people vote based on.
Yes, I agree. But those visions, those aspirations ought to be funded from resources that you are able to generate in the country.
Okay.
And if you are unable to generate reasonably and responsibly, borrow in accordance with your fiscal issues to ensure that you meet some of those gaps. We know we have issues in our country. And not all our commitments have been met. It's a matter of fact.
Let's go back to...
So I'm saying that now, because of this clear pandemic that we have all witnessed, His Excellency the President takes a decision that, look, we were building hospitals, and I have a list of projects that have been commenced by the Akufo-Addo government.
We'll come to your project.
Yes.
Let's go back
took
to...
forever. I'm addressing the issue of the hospital.
You have equal time, I beg you, please.
But I haven't exhausted my
Let's
time,
not create it. It's actually 47, so you have done 10 minutes like him. But I'll afford you the time because you say you have a record you want to show me. But let me quickly ask you this question. The Vice President was in Kumasi at the results fair. And I remember vividly that he mentioned that e-learning platforms had been created. And he said that had been achieved. We're learning now that students have difficulty with e-learning while they're at home, from basic school all the way to the university, even to the extent that university students are up in arms with their school administrators to say, we won't sit for online exam because we can't trust the system by which you will assess us. So how do we juxtapose what the Vice President said?
Is it an issue of trust in the system or the unavailability of the system?
There are three legs to the conversation. One, the Vice President's claim that this had been achieved.
I'll deal with the e-learning.
May I finish my question?
Very well.
One, the Vice President's claim that this has been achieved. Two, the need that arose and the President's directive to the Education and Communications Ministries to ensure that there was a proper e-learning platform, which some say seeks to suggest that then the platform was not present. And three, the challenges that are coming up now, which the students and lecturers are complaining about, it does suggest that the Vice President's claim couldn't have been correct. Do you agree?
You see, it would be important if you verify, to ascertain whether indeed the system that His Excellency the President, the Vice President mentioned is actually in place or not in place, or that it is accessible by every single student across the country or not. I know, as a member of the Communications Committee, that not every part of this country has internet accessibility. That's why Ghana is rolling out the rural telephony. Said that only this year we've approved a facility to construct 216 mobile telephony sites across rural communities where internet access is unavailable. In 8 years, they did less than 20. Between 2017 and now, we've done in excess of 500. So the facilities are there being expanded, but I recognize that it's not everybody who has access.
Right.
You and I live in Accra. I have kids. They do online studies.
Right.
You probably may have kids or relations who do, but
who are doing that.
Yes, some people don't have access, and I urge that whoever is in charge particularly the Ministry of Communication and Education, should put in place all the collaborative efforts that they can to ensure that access is made available to underprivileged. It's important.
It's been 6 weeks since the president gave that directive.
Several interventions have been announced. Some have been implemented. Some, it takes time. It takes resources. It takes some rollout of some equipment to get there. I'm not privy to all the details.
Okay.
But I'm saying that a lot is being done as we speak.
But so when the vice president comes to say that it has been achieved at the results fair and it was published on results.org, and now we are getting the indication from
Johnny,
on the ground that
I don't know the specific item that you are making reference to.
Well, I'm talking about the e-learning. It was
now the e-learning, what was it?
Is
it an infrastructure?
I forgot the exact thing.
Is it an e-learning platform that has been put in place that people need to access?
Is that not what it meant?
No, so let's establish whether the platform is not in place.
Okay.
And then further, let's establish whether, even though it's in place, people have challenges assessing it.
Okay.
That's an entirely honest and
okay.
issue that I will not debate about.
Let's look at the records of the hospitals that you have achieved, so you can have a second bite. So I take it that this will be your second bite if you agree.
Oh, whatever it is.
Then Suhini can, because you want to show me the record.
These are the Akufo-Addo government is constructing cheap compounds, district hospitals, polyclinics, maternity blocks at Konfanochi, Boga Regional Hospital Phase 2, University of Ghana Medical Center Phase 2, upgrade of 4 hospitals at Kibi, Tetekwashi, Memorial, ATBA, Eburi. Just this year. And I'm scandalized by your suggestion that the allocation for medical infrastructure was 44 million in the budget.
Is it not?
Is it?
Is it not?
No, I'm asking. You're a journalist.
I saw a document yesterday.
Only a few days before Parliament rose, some of his colleagues, in fact, specifically Sam George, wrote to the Speaker saying that he's not going to attend parliamentary sitting because the work that we're doing was not COVID specific. And that he cannot risk his life coming to sit in chamber for loan approval processes. You recall? What were those facilities intended for?
Okay. So I'm reading the...
La General Hospital.
Hold on for me. I'm reading...
Tema Regional Hospital.
Hold on for me, please. I'm reading the appendix.
Central Medical Stores.
I'm reading Appendix 4B, summary of the MDA expenditure allocation in Ghana cedis for 2020. And if you scroll down to item number 40, it talks about the Ministry of Health. And the fourth item is that health infrastructure, 44,396,929. That's the allocation for health infrastructure in the 2020.
Go to Appendix 10C.
Okay. So what does it say?
You go there.
It may be difficult if you have it.
Oh no, you can go there and you see. You see, our budget is financed through either tax revenue or debt.
Right.
And so government makes
That you mean by
allocations.
borrowing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because if you have a structure that 97% of your revenue goes into interest payments, wages and salaries and statutory payments, almost every capital project that you do is going to be funded from debt.
I thought we said we were doing Ghana Beyond.
But of course, the Ghana Beyond Aid is a process, it's not an event.
Okay.
Our aspiration is to move to a situation where Ghana does not depend on aid to fund its development infrastructure.
Okay.
And we are deploying that through leveraging some of our natural resources. We haven't completed the process, have we? Indeed, it was pretty revealing that when Mr. Mahama addressed his followers, if you like, in his last address on social media, he admitted that many of the hospitals that he completed were actually commenced by Prof. Mills. What does it mean?
Tell me. What
it means is that, that the loans and all that were contracted during the era of President Mills. So it cannot be the case that it takes 3 years to complete hospital infrastructure, particularly when the funding is not available.
But the president is saying he will do 88 plus 6
absolutely
in 1 year.
So you see, in 1956, when President Eisenhower passed the Federal Aid Highway Act. It was to meet a specific need.
That time
I don't have a problem. You can take the rest of the time.
Because this is second time, he's going to third time.
So,
apologies.
We are saddled ordinarily.
Okay.
You will phase out some of these infrastructure projects.
Bobo, does it make sense to you? Does it make sense to you to have projects that are not completed? And Evans showed us one this morning at the Ashanti region, the regional hospital, which is about 50-something% done, and we could just have capped it up and done it. And we have left all those ones. And
you see,
we're looking at new projects.
That
the NDC, for example, says that it doesn't make sense.
I heard him mention Bekwai.
I didn't mention Bekwai.
I heard him mention Bekwai.
Evans, William Evans, not you.
Not
you. Not you.
Okay. When did Bekwai start? He said 12 years. It was started by President Kufuor.
Right.
Over 8 years, they did not complete those hospitals. I have the list here. Now, let's look at the facilities that they left. And I would specifically deal with the NMS projects, 175, some of which they used to pay Cambridge Analytica to do electoral research for them. They contracted a loan to build hospitals and used part of that loan to go and do political research.
Saying this for a fact.
You are not aware. You haven't read the Auditor General's report. You are not. You sit in this country. You don't know. Look, Dodowa, Fomena, Kumbewu, Abetifi, Takrade, Sekendi, Garu were mostly less than 30%. They are being worked on as we speak. Some of them have attained 80% completion.
And the ones that are completed are not being used. What's the
who told you that? Look, 5 polyclinics in Greater Accra region, Obojo, Ashiaman, Botiano, Oduman, and Sege, commissioned and are being used since May 2019. 10 polyclinics in Central region, Bisiasi, Gomwa Derampon, Gomwa Potri, Briwa, Eti Sunkwa, Bimpon Eja, Jamera, Mampong. Konfude and Ekunfi Nakwa.
I think that your
commissioned and being used since August 2018.
So you're saying that. So you're saying that
upgrade of Tamale Teaching Hospital phase 2 completed in December 2018. So it cannot be the case.
I think that I said I was going to play a video
it
of the president.
It cannot be the case that
Johnny,
hospitals have been abandoned.
If I don't get a chance to
I said I was going to play a video.
The facts do not support it.
You've ceded all the time to him, and
I said I was going to play a video
fair.
of the president in 2017 at the Kwanta talking about a regional hospital.
Yes.
I don't know where the hospital is. You're from the Western region. Is that hospital there? The regional hospital, is it there?
Yeah, we have a regional hospital, but it's an old structure.
Okay. The president said we're going to do a new one in 2017.
Yes. Last year, there was provision for some rehabilitation of some facilities. Okay, the maternity.
The promise was for a new regional hospital.
No, but of course, we, the people of the region, prefer that our hospital is upgraded and we develop like a regional hospital.
I hear you.
Our preference will not be for a new hospital to be built somewhere else that we can't access.
So I'll come to you. We need to be fair to Suini.
And it was re-echoed in the address by His Excellency the President only 2 days ago.
Thank you very much. Suini, I'll give you time. I'll give you time.
I'll be here.
I'll give you time. I'll beg for time for you. Let's go on.
All right, a few messages this morning from Mr. Kinsad and Saum Nanado to build 88 district hospitals and 6 regional hospitals within 1 year. This is the biggest joke of our time. Nanado complete the abandoned hospital started by the visionary leader John Mahama, the incoming president, and stop the empty promises, sloganeering, and populism. Walanyo Inakwitia says the president is on course delivering to put the matter of coronavirus to a standstill. Let us adhere to the directives to ensure precautionary measures. Those selfish interest politicians who want the number to increase rapidly so that they can score political merit out of it should reverse otherwise. This is not the time for our usual politics with COVID-19. That's from Julius Agahuwa and Tahiru Asawasi. COVID-19 has come to expose the short-sightedness of the consumption mentality so badly that our presidents resort to wishful promises, building 8,800 bed district hospitals and 6 regional hospitals in 1 year. I think Ghanaians generally are exceedingly too patient and lenient with this government. This political promises made by the president in the midst of these struggles leaves much to be desired. It also shows how he sees the electorate. Hashtag stop the spread, hashtag stay safe, hashtag stay at home. Hi, Johnny and the crew. Good morning. I'm famous, said head dog we. Let me use this medium to wish my lovely wife, Madam Laurentia Fiano, a happy birthday inside Insom. Hello, I'm Derek from Tema. I don't think the president can build 88 hospitals in a year. Good morning, Johnny. Please, we 2018 batch and 2017 NAC and NAP. We are at home, not posted now. President want to build hospitals. Are we serious in this country, Johnny? They should post us because we can't finish school and be sitting at home. Why? Politicians are wicked. Maria Wood, Etta from Kumasi. Good morning. Please ask the NDC man that what shows that a Akufo-Addo will not win again. In fact, if the MPP has not done anything, the free education has conquered the whole nation, and this means Akufo-Addo is still going to win and win again. From David Sevoji Jr. Takrade. Good morning to you and your panelists. My brother in the Upper East were not giving any PPEs. They are at risk because people come to the clinic every day and it's worrying. Walanyo Inakwati again says the president is on course delivering to put the matter of coronavirus to S. Okay, so I think we've read this one. Charles Nyamea Samanke say, I suggest we intensify the public education on this disease. Teachers are home currently doing virtually nothing. Government should use them to support the NCCE in doing that. Good morning to Honorable Michael Leduse of Lower West Akim constituency. Good morning, Johnny, and to your panelists. Please find out from the NDC where the Upper East Regional Hospital is located and when was it built. Maxwell from Mirugu Paga sent that. Good morning, Johnny. I sometimes feel sad if our leaders find it difficult to tell us the truth. Please, the president should complete the abandoned hospitals before thinking about constructing a new facility or new facilities that is not captured in the 2020 budget. Enough of the promise, we need action. Hashtag 2020, the year of rose, will live to see. Good morning, Johnny. For the records, the president, in his 8th address to the nation, we are commencing the construction of 88 district hospitals and 6 regional hospitals. He didn't say all the hospitals are to be completed in 1 year. Please, if in doubt, let's listen to the address again and stop the spread of this misinformation. Thanks and continue your great work. Please, why is he blaming our president because he has not constructed hospital because he's promised to do so? This is the time we need to forget about comparing NDC and MPP. We need to help and support our president to solve this pandemic. We all know what is going on in the country, and in fact, our presidents have done very well, and we are so grateful. Let me read the last one. Good morning, Johnny and your panelists. Honorable Mesa should answer questions from the host, but not ask his own questions and trying to answer. We want to pause here with the messages coming in thick and fast this morning. We read a lot more later.
Atinam, thank you very much. Suni, take the floor and then do your final bites on this one.
Unfortunately for me, just when we're taking the text messages, I received some very terrible personal news also that has, put me out of
sorry about that.
control. But I will manage and still make some contribution. You asked if there was a plan as far as this COVID is concerned, and for me that's a very good question. From day one, many people have been asking this question. I remember in one of President Mohammed's addresses, he made a request for the president and the Minister of Finance, for example, to come out with a plan that we could all support, as a country, because this is not time for us to, be doing government, governing as you go. I recall that phrase, governing as you go, and the evidence is all over the place. Look, my brother talks about 1 billion for infrastructure, from the IMF. We all should stop this. You know very well that 1 billion is not for projects. It's not for capital projects. It's for balance of payments. It's not for capital projects. So don't bank capital projects hopes on it. Then
budgetary support.
Then Johnny, when it comes, I'm very excited to hear him and to see him, brandish.
He's mentioning hospitals,
clinics
completed.
But you see, the interesting thing is the number of the clinics and hospitals that he mentioned, is almost equal to the number of clinics and hospitals that he mentioned have been operationalized now, even though we still have more that have been abandoned or discontinued, which construction has discontinued. You see, these are the same people who in the past ridiculed and bastardized the constructions of these projects.
That's not true.
Today, you have them.
That's not true.
You have them wanting us to believe that they are
People
also doing the
bastardize
same.
the cost.
That they are also doing
matter of fact.
the same.
Public
Then when you push them, in their communication, they tell you President Mahama was 8 years in the presidency.
No.
They say that. He was 8 years in the presidency.
He's asking a question.
And then
for
they say
example,
Mills Mahama.
NDC was
Wait a
8
minute.
years.
Yes. And they say Mills Mahama when it is bad. And when it is good, they say it's Mills. When it is bad, it's Mills Mahama, and Mahama was 8 years at the presidency. But when it is good, then they tell you that, oh, it is just Mills, it's not Mahama.
Okay.
I mean, that dishonesty in our communication must stop. Look, Johnny, you talked about e-learning. I am proud that I have a leader who, laid a solid foundation for this country. And even in this COVID, it is difficult for you to ignore some of the foundations that he laid. Is it about the hospitals? Is it about the e-learning when he ensured that the Eastern Corridor fiber optic backbone was laid? I'm sure you remember from Ho all the way to Boku. And when he sits here and tells you about the work GIFEC is doing, I know very well that GIFEC is actually expanding internet access to less
500 cell sites have been created. That's what he says.
And he says it was only 20 in
Between 2017 and now.
Not
you
true.
did 18 in 8 years.
It's not
18.
true. I know what GIFEC did, and it is not true.
Look,
you see, but
Fully.
I'm saying if they are continuing with it,
I'm the vice chairman of the communications committee of
all
Parliament.
of that is even more possible.
I know this as a matter of
all
fact.
of that is made possible because sometimes of this fiber optic that was laid. You're talking about that backbone that is needed for you to even enroll on. So if you cannot appreciate that the backbones that have been made, look,
we need to go now. We need to go now.
We'll leave it here.
Sorry about that.
I
know.
hope it's
Sorry
not
about that.
serious.
And deepest condolences to
Thank
you. And my guest this morning has been the Honorable Al-Hassan Sohini. He's the Member of Parliament for the good people of the Tamale North constituency. He's skilled through his primary, so hopefully he gets to back to Parliament if they choose him one more time. And Honorable Andrew Ejapamesa is a legal practitioner, member of the legal committee, and also a communications committee of the MPP. He's yet to have his primaries, right? When is it happening? In May?
Well, I hope that sooner than later, when the restrictions are lifted, then we can go ahead.
But your party secretary says May.
Well, if that is the case, then so be it.
You have not heard?
Well, I've never really, been paying attention to the timing of the primaries.
We'll see you after the break.
Maybe because I'm going uncontested. So it's not too much.
Big men go uncontested. We'll see you after the break. There's more here on New Day.